All right, so this is your 8-7 notes. The difference between 8-7 and 8-6 is that 8-7, your A is equal to a number other than 1. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start here with number 1. First thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that there is not a greatest common factor that you can pull out. So looking at this, there is no greatest common factor, so I'm going to write on here no GCF. Okay, so after that, I'm going to go ahead and label my A, B, and C. So A equals, B equals, and C equals. So A equals 2, B is -3, and C is a -2. So when you do your AC method, you have 2 times -2, so that's equal to -4. All right, before we do our little tree with the -4, what we're going to do is we're going to look at our signs that were given. So I have a negative here and a negative here. So I want you to think about this. A negative times a negative is a positive. That's not going to work because this is a negative right here in front of the 2. And a positive times a positive, that's not going to work because that would end up giving you a positive. So for this one, we're going to have a loser and a winner. Okay, and your winner is whatever the sign is in the middle. Well, my winner is a negative because that's what my final answer comes out to be, is a negative. So the loser is a positive. So over here, whenever I do my -4 in my little tree, okay, I'm going to have positives and negatives. So let's just go through the numbers. Let's start with 1. So we have 1 and 4. This is going to be a negative. 1 times -4 gives you -4. 1 plus a -4, same thing as 1 minus 4, gives you -3. This is what works because it matches right here that B was equal to -3. So my answer, what we're going to do here is we're going to rewrite. We have 2x and we have 2x. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write down the numbers that I have in here. So I have a 1 and -4, so +1 minus 4. Okay, so what we're going to do, the next step is we're going to pull out any greatest common factors and we're going to trash it. Okay, so looking at the first one, there's nothing I can pull out. So for this first one, I just have 2x plus 1. Okay, looking at this second one, I can pull a 2 out, so I'm going to put my 2 out here. And what that leaves me with is just x minus 2. Now, you're going to trash this 2. You don't need anything to do with that 2. So my final answer is just 2x plus 1 and x minus 2. You can always check your answer. You can do the box method with your final answer and make sure it gives you the original question. All right, let's move on to number 2. So number 2, again, first thing that you need to do on your checklist is make sure there is not a greatest common factor you can pull out. There is no GCF. Second step to do then is A, B, C. Label your numbers. So A is 3, B is -8, C is -3. Okay, so we have the AC method. So that means you're going to do 3 times -3. So AC is equal to -9. Okay, I know that my answer is going to be 3m plus or minus something. 3m plus or minus something. So let's figure out what those little somethings are. You have this -9. And we're going to go back and look at our signs. So we have a negative and a negative. Okay, so this negative back here, that means it can't be a negative times a negative because that gives you a positive. And it can't be a positive times a positive because that would give you a positive. So for this one, we're going to have a loser again and a winner. Your winner is whatever sign is in the middle. So my winner was the negatives. That means my loser is the positives. So positives and negatives. And now let's just go through them. You have 1 and 9. 1 times 9 gives you 9. This one needs to be negative. When you do 1 minus 9 or 1 plus -9, that gives you -8. That matches the B right here. So those are the numbers I'm going to plug in. So we have +1 and we have -8. It's not an 8. Why did I just do -8? Sorry. It's +1 and -9. -9. Okay, because it's these two numbers that you plug in. So now we're going to look and make sure we don't have any greatest common factor to pull out. This first one, there's nothing you can pull out, so it's just 3m plus 1. This second one, you can pull out a 3. So you have just m minus 3. Okay, you want to go ahead and scratch off that 3. That's your trash. So your final answer here is 3m plus 1 and m minus 3. And again, you can do your box method and make sure that comes out to the original problem. All right, let's do number 3. First thing on here is to make sure that you have nothing that you can pull out. So there's no numbers I can pull out, so no greatest common factor. Second thing that you need to do is your ABC. So A is equal to 16, B is equal to negative 8, C is equal to 1. So AC method is 16 times 1. So AC is just 16. Okay, I know my answer is going to be 16R plus or minus something times 16R plus or minus something. Okay, so we're going to figure out what that is. So I have 16. Okay, figure out my signs. We have a negative and a positive. So since you have a positive back there, there's two options. It's either a negative times a negative, which gives you a positive, or it's a positive times a positive, which gives you positive. Well, this symbol right here in the middle tells you it's going to have to be a negative, because when you do a negative times a negative, when you add those numbers up, it's going to give you a negative. So it's going to be a negative times a negative. And we'll just start with 1. So we have 1 and 16. Both of these will be negative. So that would give us negative 17 total. Okay, we could do 2 and 8. Both of those are going to be negative, and that will give me a negative 10. And that doesn't work. We can do 4 and 4. Both of those be negative. Negative 4 gives me negative 8. And that works because B right here is negative 8. So this is what you want. So minus 4, minus 4. Now we have to pull out any greatest common factor. Well, I can pull a 4 out here. So we end up with 4R minus 1. Actually, let me change that so a different color. 4R minus 1. And I can pull out another 4. And what we have left over is 4R minus 1. Okay, so this is going to be trash. This is going to be trash. So your final answer here is 4R minus 1 times 4R minus 1. And again, you can always do the box method and check to make sure your answer is correct. All right, number 4. So first thing on your list, make sure there's no greatest common factor, which there is no GCF. Second thing is to label what you have. A is 6, B is 5, C is negative 6. AC method is 6 times negative 6, which is negative 36. And before I do my little tree, I know I have 6x plus or minus something, 6x plus or minus something, and we're going to find those two numbers. So looking here, you have a positive and a negative. So there is only one way this can happen, because if it's a negative and a negative, that gives you positive. If it's positive and positive, that gives you positive. So neither one of those work to give you a negative back here. The only way this is going to work is when you have your loser and your winner. Your winner comes from the middle term, which is positive, so that means my loser is a negative. So negative and a positive. So we can go ahead and go through our numbers. We want them to add up to give me a positive 5. So let's start with negative 1 and positive 36. Multiply those two, it gives you negative 36. Add those two up, it gives you 35. That's not what I want. Let's try 2 and 18. This one's negative. Negative 2 and 18, that gives me 16. That's not what I want. I want a positive 5. Okay, we can do negative 3 and 12. Add those up. Negative 3 and 12 will give me 9. That's not what I want. And let's do negative 4 and 9. Negative 4 and 9 would give me a positive 5. And that's what I want because my B is equal to 5 right here. So my numbers I'm going to put in are minus 4 and plus 9. Pull out any greatest common factor. So for this first one, I can pull out a 2. So we'll have 3x minus 2 left over. And the second one, we can pull out a 3. So I'll have a 2x plus 3 left over. Okay, you want to trash what you pulled out. So that's gone and that's gone. And we're just going to rewrite our answer. 3x minus 2 times 2x plus 3. And again, you can do the box method with your answer to check to make sure that you are right. All right, we're halfway done. So number 5, okay, first thing you want to do is make sure that there's nothing you can pull out. And so for this one, I actually can pull out a 3 on this one. So I'm going to write down over here my GCF is equal to 3. Now I need you to make a note. You do not trash this GCF. Okay, you don't want to trash this one. This one just stays there on the outside. So when I pull out a 3, what I have left over is we have a y squared minus 2y and then minus 8. Okay, so that's the first part. Second part, let me go ahead and do my AC method. So I'm going to label my A. My A is 1, B is negative 2, C is a negative 8. So AC would be 1 times negative 8. So AC is equal to negative 8. Right, so I know I'm going to have a 3 on the outside because you can't forget the 3. We're going to have y plus or minus something, y plus or minus something. So to do that, I got to find my two numbers to go into negative 8 that will also add up to give me, what do I want? A negative 2. Okay, so I'm going to look at my signs here. We have a negative and a negative. Anytime this back one's a negative, you're going to have a loser and a winner. Well, the middle term tells you who your winner is. My winner is negative, so my losers are positives. So positive and negative, and we're going to start with 1. So you have 1 and negative 8. That adds up to give me negative 7. Then we can do 2 and negative 4. That adds up to give me negative 2. And that's what I want because my b term is a negative 2. So we're going to have y plus 2 and y minus 4. There's nothing here that you can pull out. So that will be your final answer. And you can always plug that in to the table, your box method to make sure you have the right answer. All right, next one is number 6. So here we have 18x squared, and then we have minus 27x minus 5. Okay, I know right now that I do not have a GCF because 5 is my smallest prime number, and 18, 27 are not divisible by 5. So there's no greatest common factor here. Okay, next thing that I'm going to do is label my A, B, and C. A is equal to 18, B is equal to negative 27, and C is equal to negative 5. So AC method is 18 times negative 5. So my AC is going to come out to be 18 times negative 5, which is negative 90. Okay, so I know that I'm going to have 18x plus or minus something, 18x plus or minus something. So let's figure out what those two numbers are going to be. So I have negative 90. Okay, and to figure out my signs, I'm going to look up here. Since I have a negative in the back, I automatically know we're going to have a loser and a winner. The winner is whatever the sign is in the middle, which is a negative. So my losers are positive. So positive and negative. And let's start with 1. So you have 1 and negative 90. That will give me a negative 89. And remember, I want this negative 27. We can do 2 and negative 45. That will give me a negative 43. We can do 3 and 30. This one will be negative. That gives me negative 27, and that matches my B value. So positive 3 and negative 30 are the two numbers I want to plug in. Now we're going to pull out any greatest common factor that I have. So for this first one, I can pull out a 3. So we're left with 6. Let me do my different color. So we're left with 6x plus 1. And the second one, I can pull out a 6, because both of those are divisible by 6. We'll have a 3x minus 5 left over. Okay, and so now what I can do is scratch out my what I pulled out. So I don't need a 3, I don't need the 6, and rewrite my answer. So we have 6x plus 1, and 3x minus 5. And again, you can always do your box method to check to make sure that comes out to be the right answer. All right, two more. So number 7, we have 4x squared plus 26x minus 48. Okay, first thing that I notice is that all these are at least divisible by 2. Whoops, where's that? There we go. So I can at least pull out a 2. So my GCF is going to be a 2. Again, do not trash this number. Okay, do not trash it. When I pull out the 2, I'm left with 2x squared plus 13x minus 24. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and label my A, B, and C. A is equal to 2, B is equal to 13, C is equal to negative 24. So my AC method would be 2 times negative 24. So AC will be negative 48. Okay, so I can do negative 48. Before I figure out what numbers I want, I need to look at my signs. So my signs are a negative and a positive. So that means I can either do, anytime the last one's a negative, we know we're going to have a loser and a winner. The winner is whatever the sign is in the middle, so it's positive, so my losers are negative. So negative and a positive. So we can start with a negative 1 and a positive 48, and that will give me 47, and I need 13. We can do negative 2 and 24. That will give me 22. We can do negative 3 and 16. And that will give me 13, and that's exactly what I needed. So when I rewrite this, I know I'm going to have 2. Don't forget your 2. We're going to have 2x plus or minus something, 2x plus or minus something. And those somethings were my minus 3 and positive 16. What? Not 11. Let me rewrite that. Oh, never went with that. Okay. 2x. And then we have plus 16. All right. And I need to see if there's anything I can pull out. Okay. So I still have this 2. I can't pull anything out in this middle part. So I have 2x minus 3. And this last piece, I can pull out a 2. So I'm going to write that 2 down. And that leaves me with x plus 8. Okay, remember you can trash anything that you pull out. So you want to rewrite this 2 times 2x minus 3 times x plus 8. And again, you can always do your box method to check and that you have the correct answer. All right, and last one. We have 8m squared minus 44m plus 48. So for this one, I can pull out a 4. So my greatest common factor is equal to 4. Again, do not trash that. So when I pull a 4 out, I'm left with 2m squared minus 11m plus, if I pull 4 out, we'll have 12. Okay, so now I'm going to label A is equal to 2, B is equal to negative 11, C is equal to 12. And so we have AC is equal to 2 times 12. So AC is equal to 24. So before I figure out what numbers need to go into 24, I'm going to rewrite this and look at my signs. So I still have this 4. Don't forget that one. I'm going to have 2m plus or minus something, 2m plus or minus something. Okay. To figure out those numbers, we're going to look at our signs here. We have a negative and a positive. So anytime you have a positive, you have 2 options. Either it can be a negative times a negative, or it can be a positive times a positive. Well, if you look right here, the middle sign tells you your answer. This is going to have to be a negative times a negative. So negative and a negative, and we'll just go ahead and start with 1. So we have negative 1, negative 24. That would give us negative 25. Negative 2, negative 12. That will give us negative 13. I'm sorry, negative 14, not 13. Negative 14. Negative 3, negative 8. That will give me negative 11. And that's what I want because I need it to equal to this negative 11. So we have minus 3 and minus 8. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this and pull out anything that I can. I can't pull anything out of the 2 and minus 3, so I'm going to leave it as is. And here I can pull out a 2. So what I have left over is m minus 4. And you can actually go ahead and trash this 2. So just rewrite it. 4 times 2m minus 3 times m minus 4. And that is your final answer. All right, and so that's the first half of these notes. I'll do another video for the second half.